Souza was a fantastic storyteller, and the monumental canvas that you see behind me displays two of the most significant themes in Francis Newton Souza's oeuvre: Christ and the Church, and the profound bond between mother and child. The Catholic Church was a formative influence on a young Souza who was born in 1924 into quite a devout Roman Catholic family in Portuguese-ruled Goa. Souza credits the Church with giving him his first ideas of images and image-making, which inspired some of his best-known works based on religious themes, including the crucifixion, saints, and various members of the clergy. However, it was really the pageantry and the ritual of the Church that captivated him more than its spiritual teachings or its dogma. As a child, Souza recounts being struck by the sight of priests adorned in ornate robes, the vividly colored wooden carvings of saints, and the imposing crucifix with a bloodied, suffering Christ at the altar. The subject of the present lot is his interpretation of the Pieta, which is a representation of the Virgin Mary cradling the body of Christ after his descent from the cross. Souza was deeply influenced by this theme, which emerged in European masterpieces such as Michelangelo's marble sculpture La Pieta, housed in the Vatican, and Pieta by Italian master Titian, whom he greatly admired. While this is one of Souza's more sympathetic portrayals of Christ, it does lack the sentimentality and divinity commonly found in Western Christian iconography. For instance, in Titian's rendition, Christ is portrayed with a peaceful demeanor, his body seemingly illuminated by a halo of light as Mary gazes at him compassionately. Souza's Christ is presented as a suffering human being rather than the exalted Son of God. He wears a crown of thorns with blood-stained wounds from being nailed to the cross, clearly visible on his hands and feet. There doesn't seem to be a halo dignity in his suffering. Interestingly, Souza rejects the humanism of Renaissance artists and instead chooses to paint Christ's face with the thick, rigid lines and stiffness of Romanesque art, which he first came across on quite a revelatory visit to the National Museum of Catalan in Barcelona in 1962. Indian art historian Yashodhara Dalmia notes that this particularly medieval form of Christianity with its vengeful God was likely to have found an affinity with Souza. And the use of heavy black lines also hints at the influence of French expressionist Georges Rouault, whose work was also deeply shaped by his own Catholic faith. The expressionist background here is minimally detailed, but the color palette recalls the stormy tones found in Spanish Renaissance master El Greco's The Vision of St. John. Beyond its religious connotations, the painting also touches on the tender theme of mother and child and explores the grief explicit here. As you can see, in contrast to the suffering Christ, his mother, the Virgin Mary, bears the grief of having lost her beloved son with a stoic grace. Souza was very close to his own mother, Lilia Maria, who raised him as a single parent. Despite its universal symbolism, this work is also deeply personal, as he painted it in the year of her death at the age of 87. It appears almost as though Souza grappled with the grief at her passing in the only way he knew, through his art. Bid on this lot and other key works by Souza from a distinguished private collection at our upcoming Francis Newton Souza Day Sale in New Delhi on September 14, 2024.